What's up, everybody? It's Mike, Mike Howard. I am the small group leader for the freshman guys, and I just wanted to share a little bit of my life story with you. So we'll start at the beginning. I was born January 8th, 1977, in Portland, Oregon. My parents were really young. My mom was 18. So she was a pregnant high school senior. My dad was 20, and they were from completely different backgrounds. My father was the son of a black Baptist preacher who grew up on a plantation in Louisiana, and my mom was a replanted Canadian citizen who is full-blood Scottish, and so they just had conflict kind of from the start. They weren't married when I was born, and they got married when I was 2, and then they ended up getting divorced when I was 3. And my mom and I moved to California. We actually moved to East Oakland first, and then later on into the city. And so that's where I grew up. I grew up in San Francisco. I was the only child of a single parent mom who was really young. So we didn't have a whole lot of money. We had almost no money. And at sometimes we had no money. So initially, she sent me to a couple of different schools, and then she got me into this private school called Discovery Center, and it was great. We moved around a lot because we couldn't afford the rent, and so I'd never got any neighborhood friends. I never had like a best friend neighbor, so all my friends came from school, and it was a great school. There was all kinds of different people there. Every culture, every race, socioeconomic diversity was crazy, and I never even knew it. Like, these were just my friends. These were just the people I went to school with, and it was really cool. Like, I did really good in school. I was a straight A student, but the thing that really got me going was sports, and for me, like, that was it. Like, sports were my thing. I started playing Little League when I was 7. I was on the 8th grade soccer team when I was in 4th grade. I played from 4th to 8th. I played basketball from 6th to 8th. I played baseball from, the time I was a squirt to 8th grade. And then my 7th and 8th grade years, I was the team captain for all 3 of those sports, and I was the MVP for all 3 of those sports. Like, I was the man in school, and in that moment, like, I was praised as a model student, and I was told that I could be a future Rhodes Scholar, and I really felt close to God. I felt like God was on my side. I felt like He had my back, and He wanted to see me succeed. From there, I went to high school at SI, St. Ignatius. And it's a good school. It's got great education and great sports. And I played sports, and I got a great education. But it was a little bit different. I went from being the man to being a nobody. And my grades started slipping. And like, I played football all 4 years. I played basketball my freshman and sophomore year, and baseball just my freshman year. Then I ran track sophomore, junior, and senior year. And things really started changing then. Friends were different. I had a few friends that I went to school with beforehand in elementary and grade school. But I had a whole list of new friends, and they had things that I didn't have. Like money, basically. But, I still did well in sports. I was a team captain senior year for football and track, and I got scholarships for both for college. But the thing that really changed for me was I started drinking, and I started doing drugs, and that was just, it started out just on the weekends, like with friends or at parties, and I was hiding what I was doing from my mom, and I thought I was hiding it from God, which now seems really stupid because how do you hide stuff from God? But yeah, my grades really, really started falling, and I had to work hard to get them up so that I could actually make it into a college. And I started really kind of feeling like I had turned my back on God, and I felt like God just didn't care about me. But my friends did. Like, I was like, God doesn't care about me, but my friends do. Like, they know who I am. And so I had these scholarships, and I didn't take any of them because I was 18 and I knew everything. And so I ended up at the University of Arizona, which is a completely different world. It's hot all the time. I think it's like probably 85 degrees down there right now. So yeah, it was just different for me. And so I was away from family. I was away from actually all of my friends. And so I started partying a lot more and not going to class. And after one semester, my grades dropped so much, I stopped going to class altogether. And I eventually dropped out of school. And so that was just 1 year. And I ended up coming home and feeling like a failure. I felt like in that moment, like God had abandoned me, and he basically just turned his back on me and didn't care what happened. And from that point, I started hanging out with really unsavory characters, drug dealers, gang members, just seedy people you shouldn't be hanging out with. And I started stealing from people. I started dealing drugs. I started hanging out on corners doing nothing, and I started gangbanging a little bit, and I was basically like really not doing anything. I definitely wasn't doing anything right, and this is when I really started lying to my closest friends and my closest family and my mom. And anytime they would be like, "Hey, what's up?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm fine, nothing has changed for me. I'm still the same guy." And I've learned over the years there's a few different examples of the word fine. There's different acronyms. So FINE, frantic, insane, nuts, and egotistical. FINE, freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. How about frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional? Or my absolute favorite, feeling insecure, numb, and empty. Empty. That's what I was. I was empty. I had this huge hole inside of me, and I was trying to fill it with any sort of substance that would just dull the pain or ease, like dull the senses. And it ended up really bad for me. I stopped talking to my mom. I stopped talking to all of my friends and my family. And, well, not all of my friends. I still had a few friends. And I ended up homeless. I ended up sleeping in my car and couch surfing. Spend a couple nights at your friend's house, and when you've worn out your welcome, you leave. And I would go days without eating, but I still, I kind of had a somewhat of a job, and I was making a little bit of money, and I was still doing drugs and drinking whenever I could. And I became a man with no purpose and no direction at all. I was just lost. And I felt like God hated me. I had wasted all of these gifts and this potential he had blessed me with, and I didn't use my gifts for good, but for bad things. And I ended up hurting a lot of people, especially the ones that were closest to me. And I fell into this giant pit of despair, which is really funny if you think about it. The word praised and the word despair are made up of the same words or the same letters, and they are just completely opposite ended. So that continued until January 13th, 2003. I woke up in my car and I had to use the bathroom, and because there's no bathroom in a car, I had to go use it outside. So I left my car, used the bathroom, came back, and I realized I had locked myself out of my home. I had my cell phone with me, but not my keys, which really seemed odd because I'm not the kind of person that forgets their keys. And what ended up happening was I literally looked at the keys in the car, looked at my phone, and just looked up at the sky and was like, God, what do I do now? And my phone rang, literally right in that moment. And it was my mom. She asked me how I was doing. And instead of saying fine, like, I started speaking the truth, which was something I never did. I told her I needed help, which again, like, I never asked for help. And I just couldn't stop myself. God was literally talking truth through me, and I could not do anything to stop it. Like, he was saying all the things that I was too ashamed to say, too afraid to say, for myself, because I needed the help. And in that moment, I learned what God's grace is. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines grace as an unmerited divine assistance given to humans for their regeneration or sanctification. And in that moment, God really showed me that what I had done and the circumstances I was living in, those didn't define me. They didn't define who I was. And even though I had done so many people wrong, like, he still cared for me. Like, he was still there for me, no matter what. Which is funny because, I know you guys have heard the word repent. There's a lot of different definitions for it. One that I like is to turn from sin and dedicate oneself to the amendment of one's life. Another one is to change your mind, which, everyone's free to change their mind. So when I decided I didn't want to keep living that way, like, everything started changing. Like, I stopped lying, I stopped stealing, I stopped fighting things, and things like changed immediately. I went to rehab, I got treatment, I learned about sobriety. I've been sober since February 13th, so it took me a month. February 13th, 2003, so that's just over 17 years, that I've been free and clear of the chains that my addictions had over me. And since then, I've become a husband, a dad, a Christian, and a small group leader, which is extremely important to me. I have many friends. I have so many friends now, and I love them all. And none of my new friends have seen me drunk. They've never seen me loaded at all. I still have a lot of old friends. My best friend, who's been my best friend since the 4th grade, we're still in touch a lot, so it's really cool. I have a job that pays the bills. I have bills. I have a home. I'm a homeowner. That's not to say that I get it right all the time. Actually, I rarely ever get it right. But I know that there is room for mistakes and mishaps in life. I know that God knows my heart, and that even when I get it wrong, he's still going to love me, because God's grace really has no limit. It's a beautiful thing that I'm here now. I should be dead. I know you probably have heard people say that before, but legitimately, when you get shot at a few times, you kind of realize, that could have killed me, and it didn't. And it's weird that it didn't, because it probably should have. But even through things like that, God is there for me when I need him, and he's there for me even when I don't. It's funny, when I think about it, God never turned his back on me. I turned my back on God. And one of the other definitions of the word repent is simply to turn around. And that's all I did. I turned around and God was there. So, that's me in a very brief nutshell. There's a lot more to my story, and if you really feel interested, just ask. I'll tell you, trust me. Ask anybody. I love to talk. Love y'all, and I can't wait to actually see you guys, and can't wait to give people hugs and actual high fives and, bump elbows and all that fun stuff. So, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.